welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. Now we've all felt the sting of looking at our life total and realizing we're not long for this world. What if we could have so much life that we could essentially be immortal? With that in mind, let's have a look at 5 infinite life combos you won't believe our budget. Combo 1. Nearheath Hellion. For this combo, we're going to need Nearheath Pilgrim on the battlefield. Nearheath Pilgrim has Soul Bond, which means that as long as it is paired with another creature, both creatures have lifelink. Then we're going to need Volcano Hellion. Volcano Hellion states that when it enters play, we get to have it deal any amount of damage to target creature. So to make the combo go off, we have Nearheath Pilgrim on the battlefield, we cast Volcano Hellion, Soul Bonded onto the Nearheath Pilgrim, now both creatures have lifelink. Then we choose to do an infinite amount of damage with Volcano Hellion to itself. Naturally, it will die to this infinite amount of damage, but as it has lifelink, we will gain an infinite amount of life. Combo 2. Warden Deadeye Fairies. For this combo, we're going to need a copy of Essence Warden on the battlefield. It states that whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. We're also going to need a copy of Deadeye Navigator. Now, Deadeye Navigator can soul bond with another creature, and then both creatures have pay 2 mana, exile this creature, and return it to the battlefield under your control. Finally, we're going to need a copy of Cloud of Fairies. When Cloud of Fairies comes into play, untap 2 lands. To make the combo go off, we're going to have Essence Warden and Deadeye Navigator on the battlefield. Then we're going to tap our 2 lands to cast Cloud of Fairies. Cloud of Fairies enters play, soul bonds with Deadeye Navigator, we gain a life from Essence Warden, and we get to untap those same 2 lands again because of Cloud of Fairies' ability. Now, we can use Deadeye Navigator's ability to tap 2 lands, exile Cloud of Fairies, Cloud of Fairies returns to the battlefield, and we get to untap those same 2 lands again. In essence, we will be able to have Cloud of Fairies enter the battlefield and exit the battlefield an infinite amount of times, all the while gaining us an infinite amount of life through Essence Warden. We can also replace Essence Warden with Soul Warden, and the combo will essentially stay the same. Combo 3. Judge Tidewater Stalactite. For this combo, we're going to need Judge of Currents on the battlefield. It states that whenever a merfolk you control becomes tapped, you may gain 1 life. We're also going to need Tidewater Minion on the battlefield. It can tap to untap target permanent. And finally, we're going to need Rune Stalactite on the battlefield. It states that equipped creature gets +1/+1 and is every creature type. To make the combo go off, we're going to need Judge of Currents on the battlefield, Tidewater Minion on the battlefield, and it will be equipped with Rune Stalactite, making it every creature type. Now, we're going to use Tidewater Minion's ability to untap target permanent, thereby tapping it. Now, because it is every creature type, it allows us to gain 1 life through Judge of Currents, and we're going to use Tidewater's Minion on itself to untap itself, and then we can once again tap it and untap it and tap it and untap it an infinite amount of times. All the while, every time it taps, as it is a merfolk now because of the Rune Stalactite, we will gain 1 life through Judge of Currents. We can replace Tidewater Minion with Seeker of Daybreak, and essentially the combo will remain the same. Combo 4. Spitemare Lifelink Shot. For this combo, we're going to need a copy of Spitemare on the battlefield. It states that whenever Spitemare is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. We're also going to need a copy of Lifelink, which states that enchanted creature has lifelink. This means that whenever it deals damage, it also gains that much life. We're also going to need Ephemeral Shields. It's an instant, and states that target creature gains indestructible until the end of turn. Finally, we're going to need a copy of Gut Shot. We can either pay 1 red or 2 life to cast this instant, and it deals 1 point of damage to target creature or player. To make the combo go off, we're going to need Spitemare on the battlefield. We're going to enchant it with lifelink, and we're going to target it with Ephemeral Shields. So now Spitemare has a lifelink and is indestructible. Finally, we're going to target it with Gut Shot, dealing 1 point of damage to it. Because we dealt 1 point of damage to Spitemare, it can now deal 1 point of damage to target creature or player. We choose to have it deal 1 point of damage to itself. Because it has lifelink, we will gain 1 life. Because it was dealt 1 point of damage by itself, it can deal 1 more point of damage to either itself or a player. So we choose itself once again. So we once again gain 1 life. We can repeat this process an infinite amount of times, gaining us an infinite amount of life. And because it has indestructible, it will not die, and we can keep on going until we have the desired amount of life. Combo 5, Leonin Ornithopter Pit. For this combo, we're going to need Leonin Elder on the battlefield. It states that whenever an artifact comes into play, we gain life. We're also going to need Ornithopter. Ornithopter is a 0/2 artifact creature that costs 0 mana to cast. We're also going to need Spawning Pit. Spawning Pit allows you to sacrifice a creature, and we put a charge counter on it. Finally, we're going to need a copy of Enduring Renewal. It's an enchantment that states whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from play, return it to your hand. To make a combo go off, we're going to need Leonin Elder on the battlefield with Spawning Pit and Enduring Renewal. We're going to cast Ornithopter for 0 mana. As it comes into play and it is a creature, we gain 1 life because of the Leonin Elder. Then we're going to sacrifice it to our Spawning Pit. Now Ornithopter dies and goes to our graveyard. But Enduring Renewal states that whenever a creature is put into our graveyard from play, we return it to our hand. So Ornithopter goes back into our hand. From there, we can once again pay 0 mana to cast it, triggering Leonin Elder, and we can sacrifice it once again to the Spawning Pit and return it back to our hand. You can do this an infinite amount of times for an infinite amount of life. Now that we figured out how to gain an infinite amount of life, what are some other cards that have great synergy with that? First one is Ayani's Pridemate. It's a 2/2 creature that states that whenever you gain life, you may put a +1/+1 counter on Ayani's Pridemate. Hence, if we gain an infinite amount of life, Ayani's Pridemate will be infinitely large. Another card is Wall of Limbs. It's a 0/3 defender that also states that whenever you gain life, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Hence, if we gain an infinite amount of life, Wall of Limbs will be infinitely large. However, it has an additional rule that for 7 mana, we can sacrifice it and target player loses X life where X is Wall of Limbs power. Hence, we can do an infinite amount of damage. We can also use Plague of Vermin. For 7 mana, it's a sorcery that states that each player may pay any amount of life and then put a 1/1 black rat token into play for each life he or she paid this way. So we can pay an almost infinite amount of life to get an infinite amount of 1/1 black creature tokens, bearing in mind that we still want to have at least 1 life at the end so we don't kill ourselves. Last card is Vizkopa Guildmage. For 2 mana we get a 2/2 that states that for 3 mana we can make sure that whenever we gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. So if we gain an infinite amount of life, all our opponents will lose an infinite amount of life. Well, those are 5 infinite life combos you won't believe our budget. Remember, all the cards we use cost an average of less than $1, so you won't break the bank just by trying a few of these out. On top of that, also use these with caution as they're not a lot of fun to play against. Finally, we'd like to ask you to press that subscribe button as it lets us know if we're doing a good job and it allows us to make more top 5 lists. Thanks for watching. I'm David, and this was Budget MTG Decks.